G'day, fools, and welcome back to the series. I've imagined it'll be titled What I've Been Reading because I talk to the fools about what they've been reading. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. I'm Scott Phillips, the Motley Fool's Chief Investment Officer here in Australia, and I'm joined this week by Motley Fool analyst Darius Zarghami. Darius, g'day.
G'day, Scott. How you going?
Mate, I'm very well, thank you. I hope you are too. I've been looking forward to this one. So behind the scenes, I asked the team to put down the books they want to cover or the reading they've been doing. And so I kind of get a bit of a sneak peek about what's coming up. And Darius elected to chat about a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. One of my favorite thinkers, one of my favorite books. And mate, I'm very excited to be talking about this one today, and I'm glad you brought it up. For our viewers, though, let's assume I know nothing, which is frankly not all that far from the truth. And let's why don't you tell me who exactly is Daniel Kahneman and why should we listen to him?
Yeah, so Daniel Kahneman's actually a psychologist. He's not an economist, but a really big deal in the economics world because he actually won the Nobel Prize in economics.
That's right.
Which should really tell you something about how he sort of Kahneman he didn't just expose how unrealistic the idea of traditional rational investors. Rationality is a very important thing in the economics world.
Yeah.
He didn't just expose how unrealistic it is. Really, for years, for decades, really, economists rather, assumed that people, they weighed probabilities accurately, they made logical trade-offs, all those sort of different things.
Yeah.
Always acted in their best interests, which I consider myself a relatively rational person. I know I don't do that.
Oh, totally. Well, neither do I. Exactly.
But Kahneman's research, what it showed was that that's just not how humans work. Instead of being rational calculators, we're really what we are is intuitive storytellers. Really, we rely on shortcuts, emotions, patterns, gut feeling, all those sort of things. And so, what thinking fast and slow really is, it's a map of how we make those decisions, how we get them wrong in often very predictable ways, and more importantly, how those mistakes impact us as investors. But really what's at the center of the whole book is Kahneman came up with this idea. We don't have one mind, we actually have two minds. And so he calls them System 1 and System 2 thinking. System 1 is called fast thinking, so hence the name of the book, Thinking Fast and Slow. But System 1 is fast thinking. It's automatic, effortless, emotional based, pattern based thinking. So you're really using this when you're reading words, recognizing a face, a familiar face. If you feel fear in a certain situation, that's generally System 1 thinking. And if you're doing basic maths problems, 2 + 2 is 4. That's System 1 thinking as well. It's kind of fast because it has to be. So an example would be if a car's coming at you, you don't want to reason your way out of the way of the car slowly. You want to get out of the way of the car.
Right.
But that brings us to System 2 thinking, slow thinking. So this one's a bit more logical, takes effort. It takes energy. It's deliberate thinking. And that's what you kind of use when you're doing something like calculating a valuation, comparing two investments, looking at a balance sheet, that sort of thing. But really often it's System 1 that actually runs everything, and System 2, so System 1, the fast thinker, that runs everything, and System 2 is actually quite lazy. And while we might like to believe that we're thoughtful and analytical decision makers, in reality, most of the time it is just System 1 that makes the call. And to give a quick example, and you got to answer quickly, the classic example is a bat and a ball cost, unless you've heard
I know this one.
riddle.
I'm so sorry.
You know this. Okay, well, can you get it wrong? Can you get it wrong deliberately?
Yes, I will. Let's go.
A bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total.
Yes.
The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
10 cents.
Well, yes, it feels right. 10 cents does feel right. And most people would say 10 cents feels right. It sounds about right. But the correct answer is actually 5 cents.
And $1.05.
And the wrong answer that you awkwardly gave there was System 1 thinking.
Yes.
Stopping, checking, and correcting, which I know you would have done, and you already know the thing, but is System 2 thinking. And in markets, System 2 often just never actually shows up. So Yeah.
I love it, mate. I love what he's brought, and you've done such a great job about explaining what's going on here, because I think that you used the word deliberate, and I love that word, because that's kind of what we're talking about. And so I went. I'm an old person, you know that. I went through school, and it was kind of the end of traditional economic thinking, or what we call classical economics. And it was that idea of, as you said, everyone's rational. Ceteris paribus is the first Latin phrase I learned, which is all else being equal. And of course, it never is. But economists kind of went, well, we can't really, the world's squishy, so we can't really cover that. What we'll do is pretend we can assume everything else is, assume they're rational, assume nothing else changes. Now what would happen? And it's perfectly logical. In those circumstances, it's perfect. Except the circumstances don't exist in the real world. And I've for the longest time talked about economics. I call it applied psychology, because that's effectively what it is, right? And this is what Daniel Kahneman illustrates so beautifully. Got to say, as a psychologist, he could have come up with something better than System 1 and System 2 to describe it, but you've done a better job talking about fast and slow thinking. And I know, again, that's the title of the book. So that's really what we're talking about here. When it comes to that in an investing sense, you've already given some great investing examples. How should our viewers think about making sure that System 1 doesn't do too much of the work, and overrun, exclude System 2 thinking?
It's more about, I think, being aware of the different biases and heuristics that are at play when we're looking at companies investing. And there's a few of these that Kahneman mentions. I'll run through a few, I guess.
Yeah,
Things like representativeness, which is really just thinking to yourself, oh, that looks like a winner. You might say to yourself, this feels like the next Afterpay, or this reminds me of CSL in the early days. And as I was reading, I knew that I do all of these things. Like I say to myself, this must be a winner. It looks like a winner. Like it, but that's often something that can get it into a lot of trouble. And really what we're doing there is we're mistaking a good story for what is a high probability outcome or a low probability outcome.
Right.
Another one would be availability. So whatever's loud feels likely. Something that's recent, dramatic, or in the news might make us more likely to buy into that. So after a market crash, things like risk, they feel enormous, and everyone wants to sell. But after a strong bull run, the risk feels low and everyone wants to buy. But it's actually really, we would preach that it's actually the opposite. After a market crash, the best thing to do is probably buy. And after a bull run, be a bit more cautious, but the best thing to do is probably still buy. But yeah. Anchoring is another big one. I see a lot of people anchor, and I've done it too. It's hard to avoid at times, but the mental anchoring to things like a 52-week high, or an IPO price, or even the price you first bought the company at, can be, it's that thought process of, I guess, this stock used to be $10 when I bought it. Now it's $4. Well, that means it must be cheap. I couldn't have been wrong. I mean, it could be cheap, maybe, or maybe the $10 that you bought it at was a nonsense price, and now $4 is a reasonable price. So maybe you could buy some more, but you got to assess the company with your System 2 thinking before you know. Last one I want to touch on is confirmation bias. So generally, once you've bought shares in a company, once you've made that conscious decision, you feel very committed. You feel very, you don't want to, no one wants to look stupid, really. And so what you might find,
stupid, right? It's even about ourselves, not even about what other people think. Yeah.
Exactly. Once you own a stock, though, you kind of might find you start to look for bullish information that agrees with what your preconceived notions are, and you might ignore bearish data and things like that. And so you might get into this mindset of, oh, that's negative news, that's wrong, they're wrong, I'm right. Oh, that's positive news, that's correct. And that confirmation bias can be very powerful, and can lead you to make some subpar decisions, I think, at times.
Love it, mate. That's a really nice summary. Hey, fools, thanks for watching this. Buy the book, read the book, download the book. We'll have a link in the description below. We don't get a cut of anything, by the way. Just, it's a really great book. Honestly, do yourselves a favor. It's kind of self-awareness, I suppose, Darius, is really at the bottom of this, right? Even some of the examples you're giving, we say something looks like something is a mistake. Heuristics also work. That tends to be the case that if you recognize, a similar situation, maybe it is actually a similar, this is the next Amazon? Maybe it is. Or maybe, as you say, it's not, because you're simply taking that data and saying, well, it looks like it, so maybe I should assume it is. It's neither either or. And that's, I think, Kahneman's point is the instinctive thinking, which, and by the way, you mentioned the share price movements. Some people say, oh, the shares are down, it's a bargain. Other players say, well, the shares are down, it's terrible. I'll wait till it goes back up again to get my purchase price. We can use those biases in both directions. This is the really important point, as you've highlighted. And again, I'll go back to that word deliberate. It's just being very specific and saying, you know what, in regards to how I instinctively feel, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to interrogate that thought. I'm going to make sure I'm rational and process it. And it's really, really hard to do. It's the old line about it's much easier to fool someone than convince them they've been fooled. All the biases you talk about are absolutely standing in our way. It's not like you're going to go, oh, that's fine. I don't want to look at confirmation bias because I want my ego to be soothed. I'm not going to actively seek it out unless I really make myself. And that's a really important part. So you can't say, oh, I know about confirmation bias, therefore I'm immune from them. You've already said you've made those mistakes. I've certainly made a million of those mistakes, mate. So, and that's the other thing. I know about them, and you know about them, and that's why it's so incredibly hard. But the best thing you can do, I'm going to say, Darius, I reckon you're going to agree, is educate yourself about them to give yourself the best chance of dealing with them.
That's completely right. There is, of course, other things we can do to safeguard ourselves against our stock picking, and that's to really try and engage that system two thinking as well.
Yes.
So really taking that time to analyze the company from a number of different lenses. And I guess it is partly about changing your thinking as well. Having the awareness of those biases does kind of mean if you engage that system two thinking, you can change your thinking. So rather than thinking, oh, this will be a 10 bagger,
Yeah,
you can kind of ask yourself, well, what's the probability of it potentially being a 10 bagger? Is it quite low, or is it, is it actually a realistic thought that I'm having there? You kind of want to interrogate your thoughts a lot.
Love it. Hey, Fools, he's a smart guy, right? I told you he was. And he's working on behalf of Motley Fool members and some of the services that our Motley Fool members are enjoying and getting the benefit of Darius's intellect and knowledge and insight on. So just another example of why I'm very, very lucky to work with a very smart, very capable, very thoughtful, and very humble Motley Fool investment team, not least Darius Zarghami. Mate, thank you for sharing your time, your expertise with me and with our viewers. Viewers, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the series, do yourselves a favor, do us a favor. Hit the like button. Why? Because it helps other people find the video, frankly. It makes us feel good, but it's really about kind of sharing the love. And I'm sure if you're still here, you've enjoyed this video. Help others find it for me, if you wouldn't mind. Also, if you like it, you probably want more. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you've been on YouTube for any length of time, you know what's going on here. Basically, it means there's so much stuff published to YouTube. The stuff you want to hear about will bubble to the top. You're effectively curating your own list. And if you're enjoying some investment content from us, and I hope you are, hit the notification bell, means it'll be prompted, or you'll be prompted when new content is published and released. We do it on a relative schedule, rough schedule, but you'll find out when it's there by a notification from YouTube. So if you're enjoying it, please do those things. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Until next time, Fool on.